FM. Let's do some other stories here on Newsnight. The Ghana Education Service is set to roll out in September a new curriculum that puts greater emphasis on literacy and numeracy. The new curriculum will also make the study of the history of Ghana a compulsory subject from Class 1 to Class 6. That's according to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku Amankwa. He's been speaking at a press conference to announce the introduction of the new curriculum as well as school uniforms.
The new curriculum that we are rolling out has some key features that we want to highlight. At the KG, the number of subjects have been reduced from 7 to 4. Within the 4 subjects, we will do more in-depth teaching. At the lower and upper primary, the number of subjects remains the same. However, there will be more depth in each subject with greater emphasis on literacy and numeracy. As part of the several reforms that are going on in education, another area that we have found a need to also reform is the school uniforms for junior high schools. And the minister, through consultations, presented a memo to cabinet, which was duly accepted for us to change the junior high school uniform from next academic year. The idea is for them to start seeing themselves as secondary school students. The Ghana flag in it, which symbolizes patriotism, and then the sense of belonging. There's a certificate which talks about graduation from the basic to secondary school, and then there's a graduation cap symbolizing intelligence and superiority.
So that's the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku Amankwa, announcing that new reforms in the education sector. But my colleague Maxwell Agbagba was at the press conference and joins us in the studio. Let's break it down, Maxwell. First of all, what did the GES say necessitated the introduction of these new curriculum?
Well, MFA, they tell us that the last time there was a review of the curriculum was sometime in 2007, and that's 12 years ago. They say that standard practice is 5 years, so the curriculum has to be reviewed every 5 years, but that has not been the case. Looking at the last time that we did that is in 2007, and now, for instance, in the area of information communication technology, we've had significant improvement and advancement even in ICT. So it tells you that the curriculum that is being used even now to teach ICT perhaps is outmoded. And then they say that there have been so much focus on rote learning, what we've come to know as chew, pass, and forget. So this time around, they want to come up with a curriculum that would give students, that would equip them with necessary skills. So not just learning, passing, and forgetting, but something that would be with them, forever.
So what then will be the key features of this new curriculum?
Well, we are told by a member of the team that designed the new curriculum, we are told that history, for instance, will become a compulsory subject from primary 1 to primary 6. Indeed, we've heard that those who ignore history condemn themselves to not knowing the present. They're saying that this time around we need to know our history. So from primary 1 to primary 6, history is going to be a compulsory subject for all students. Another feature that we have is the study of French. We are told that French will be studied from upper primary. Yes.
So it means that from class 1 all the way there will be no French anymore? Is that it?
Well, we are told that it's going to be from upper primary. That's the new information that we've been given. We can hear from a member of the team that designed the new curriculum. Here's Dr. Prince Ama.
I mean, our young people develop some sense of cultural and national identity. That as a people, we need to know where we have come from. And that will be able to shape our way of being. And so history has been introduced into the curriculum, as a standalone from primary 1 to primary 6. so people can know about, you know, the history of Ghana and the history of their family, you know, and the environment and issues around them, you know.
In the past, it was history was studied at the senior high school level, not at the basic school level, right?
Exactly. I regret that I never had the opportunity to study history, but because it gives a sense of heightened sense of nationalism, to feel that, you know, to have an understanding of where you have come from, you know, as a young child. And so that's the basis of adding or integrating history into the primary school. Yeah, so primary French will be taught from primary 4, and hopefully when we have more teachers, we may want to even consider, you know, bringing French as at primary 3, because at primary 1 to 3, because the point is that developing multilingual, you know, capacity will be very helpful and beneficial to us as Ghanaians, you know, given the fact that we're surrounded.
Okay, so Maxwell, 3 key announcements were made today.
Exactly.
We've talked about the assessment. We've talked about, the new curriculum.
The
Let's
new
talk
curriculum.
about the assessment.
Yes.
For class 2, 4, and 6.
Yes.
What are the details?
So for class 2, class 4, and then class 6, there's going to be a national assessment for students at these stages, you know. And we're told that this is actually not the first time they're going to do this. In the past, they used to do it on sample basis. So you just sample some of the students and then ask them to take part in this assessment. But now it's going to be across board. All the students at stages 2, 4, and 6 will take part in this national assessment.
So you see, the point is that if people are experience the curriculum, they need to be able to. We need to be able to track the progress of these people, you know, and so that we do not wait until they get to, say, junior high school before we are able to tell where they have gotten to. So largely, what the assessment would seek to do is try to find out where the young people are doing, where at what level they are, so that it will then provide a basis for us to do intervention. Now, because this is a standard-based curriculum, different from the previous one, there are standards that will be set. So at the end of KG1, at the end of primary 2, at the end of primary 4, at the end of primary 6, there are specific competencies that the young person should be able to demonstrate at that level, and then probably at subject level. So what the assessment will do is to find out how many of our young people are meeting this standard. So, for example, in mathematics, if the standard is that a child from primary 2 should be able to count from 1 to 100 and skip count in 2s backwards, then the assessment will find out whether that child has met that standard. And if not, then the teacher will be able to begin to undertake interventions.
So it's not for a progression, it's just for an assessment.
We are told that this will not affect the progression of the students. It's just to assess them, see their weaknesses, and then try to fix it.
Interesting. But the third one, though, briefly, let's talk about the introduction of the uniforms, because most people are talking about that. Why is the need for that?
Well, when we spoke to the chairman of the Ghana Education Governing Council, he told us that we're trying to move into a system where the junior secondary schools will now become part of the lower secondary school, as is done in other jurisdictions. What we have right now, even if you move from primary 6 to junior high school, it's still considered as basic. So we gradually want to move towards a system where the junior high schools will be part of a lower secondary school system. So that's why it has become necessary to change their uniform, just to indicate that transition from basic school to that lower secondary education status.
Over the years, basic education is up to GHS level. Now, we want to move the GHS level to become the lower part of the senior secondary school. Just like the British education system. We all use up to P6 in Ghana everybody would have finished primary school. In UK, yes, they also finished primary school doing 6 years. When they move to the lower secondary, they call it year 7, year 8, year 9. That's what they call the lower secondary. And the upper secondary is just 2 years. And so, psychologically, if these children are now going to operate at the lower secondary, and psychologically they realize they are no longer in the primary level because they were wearing the same uniforms. So if you are in a secondary school, they will even feel proud that, yeah, this is distinguishing them from the primary children. And therefore, they will enjoy it.
So the main reason for the change in the uniforms is psychological, just to make them aware that you've transitioned from one stage to the other.
Psychological, they will feel, or now that they are going to be the lowest secondary of the senior high, certainly it puts a lot of also responsibility on them also to behave like secondary, full-time secondary students. So yes, both psychologically and the level that they feel will actually make a difference in their lives.
So that's the chairman of the Ghana Education Service Governing Council, Mr. Michael Nsoah. Evans will give us his experience shortly. That psychological impact it had on you wearing that kokonte and Nkatinkwai. But we've been joined on the phone by an educationist, Mr. IKJC. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So is this what our basic education system needs right now?
See, my problem is this. That it seems as if, with all the good intentions, government isn't paying much attention to the basic level, the foundation. Thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen of the media, we've had depressing stories of what goes on at the basic level. You have children in the 21st century, you have children sitting in the dust, using their hand to scrape off part of the dust, and their finger to write in the dust, not a pen and paper or chalk and slate, but using their fingers to write in the dust. Thanks to the media, we have stories and pictures of teachers and pupils studying under trees. No common room for teachers to sit and do their marking and the learning for the next period. We have situations where classrooms are without roofs either ripped off or torn. We have situations where primary one, sometimes kindergarten, primary one, primary two, children are lumped together. They have only one teacher. Sometimes you have a classroom, no division, so that class 1 teacher knows what goes on in the class 2 classroom, and so on and so forth. While we have very, very good teachers, I'm afraid we have raised the question over not only quantity, but also quality. You have a situation where two children occupy one dual desk. A situation where 3 or 4 children occupy, two children mono desk, 3 or 4 children dual desk. Even in our time, everybody had a copy of the Oxford Reading Book. Is that the situation today? And without a strong foundation, it is not change of uniform, I'm afraid. Change of uniform, which is going to produce results. Change of uniform may boost the Amoradas will say, yes, I know that in the old system, sixth formers wore trousers and a different color of the shirt. In my school, they wore blue. So yes, you could see that here comes a sixth form student, here comes an ordinary student. But ultimately, it is the provision of learning and teaching material which will enhance learning and teaching.
Okay,
and
but Mr. JC,
Yes,
briefly though,
that's
the curriculum reforms as we heard today, does it not address the quality aspect that you talk about? Will it not?
Oh, quality. When you talk of quality, you are talking of so many things. You are even talking of the home. Sometimes we think that learning and teaching situation takes place only in the school. No, the home. What is the home like? Is the home very hostile or friendly to teaching and learning? You go to the school, as I've told you, where you have 2 children occupying one mono desk, where there are no books, when the teacher doesn't even have anything to teach, where his own ability is in question. It is, as I said, it is not the change of uniform and which is going to work the magic. Again, you're talking of change of curriculum. Yes, once again, anything which improves the curriculum and therefore improves the quality of teaching and learning should be welcome.
Okay.
In fact, I do not think that the present situation should continue where BECE candidates, Monday to Friday, Monday 2 papers, Tuesday 2 papers, up to Friday. As far as I'm concerned, I believe it is too stressful. Okay. I'm not concerned about the number of subjects. They can study many subjects, but we did many subjects in my time. But it is what they eventually study for the final examination which concerns me.
Okay. Ms. Aikejesi, we are grateful for your time, but I must add that as part of the announcements, also government has stated that they'll be using part of that 5 million of the GET fund to address the infrastructural problems as we have it as well. But we can hear from some parents who've been interacting with my colleague Komla Adum Atadabraka here in Accra.
Okura nkwala be for obeto bia tare na wapam esa na ho kire nso abaye so be se sika ne ho enya ade a yebetimi.
She has 4 children, all of them are in the public school, and it's going to be a huge burden on them because they would have to buy the materials. And so for all these 4 children who are in upper primary and going to JHS, and so if there's going to be any subsidies, that will be welcomed. What's Sister Bano? So pam this new uniform I share. What you saying?
E drew na so be boya. So moye dia na enya dia so be she
agrees with Na that it's going to be an economic burden on their families. But abayin so aka say omo in Craig Crasina omo ni sika ndia omehwe aye bibia fa omo ho. You don't agree with it?
So say nkran ha no enya nyina na ye be nya sika sa ente yen so ye won nkran ha ye bre.
Granted that their counterparts in the rural areas are deprived, they also here in Accra are having a hard time, raising cash because generally conditions are tough for them.
Yeah, I was say I guess obey am crass phone. Yes, so I am my chrome phone because ye nyina epe. Obi a ho kire no.
First no na nkola no omoko school no from primary san mulu JHS 3 and no my BC. Basisia no nkola do class 2 a ombeye sa exam na ma omo the whole Ghana class 2 nkola nkwan exam. Omo do class 4 the same thing. Omo pese omo identify strengths and weaknesses. Baby nkola no eye ade baby omo nya ade. Odwen ho sen.
Say ne eye pese omo nyiri ho na omo nsua ade na omo nso nko yanim. Ente so nim se obeye na sama aboa nkwala na dia se ne ana so ye ni asam kante de eye na ye hwehwe.
She says it's a good idea if that is what is going to help their children, better themselves right through the ranks and up until they get to JHS3, then that is fantastic.
So that's one parent giving us her view on the reforms. Why don't you send us your own view on this? 0244 340 437. And I went to Saito. I remember when we used to wear the Kokonte and the Ekatequine, uniform. It was a case of an inferiority complex sometimes when you walk out and you see your friends from private school and other schools wearing something more sexy, more colorful, etc. You almost feel like you're inferior.
And look how you turned out.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of people like me who felt that one whilst you were there. So when you change it, and you see the education is also mentioned that it helps with the sense of.
But what about those in the lower primary? Because you're only doing it for the JHS. How about the rest of them? Doesn't it have a psychological effect on them as well?
It does. For me, wearing it all through was a challenge. I couldn't wait to get get out of it and go to a senior high school then, so I can wear something else. Okay. And I remember the first day I got my St. Thomas Aquinas uniform. Oh my goodness, I worshipped it. Still ahead, list of presidential staffers finally before Parliament, but the minority is questioning the timing.
Every week, especially as we entered March and as March was coming to a close, we kept reminding the president. Now the president submits this just a day for us to rise. We now have to wait for copies.
Tell you how more than 900 people still work at the presidency, and we'll bring you additional details of this. And then later on flip side, we'll talk about the fundamentals of the economy. A stand-up comedian, DKB, gives us his own rendition.
If the fundamentals fail because of the city depreciation, it doesn't mean the fundamentals are failed because of the logical warping of the economic fundamentalization.
Okay, what's your own analysis of this? And I guess Charles has his. Charles, you didn't go to Saito, did you?
No, I didn't. Thankfully.
Okay. Thankfully.
The tone of the no has gone down.
I'm not even offended. It's okay. It's okay.
Anyway, so coming up in business, freight forwarders call for a governance structure to enhance trade facilitation at the port. We'll give you the details. And IMF warns governments to be heavy on non-oil revenue measures to deal with expected global slowdown this year. Business on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to a new world of business. And First National Bank, how can we help you? As well as Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials.
It's your day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper. So you video call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Hello? Hello?
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing Topo. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no! Why did you leave Abeku alone on the bed?
But I had to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look, the video freezes again. Abba. By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. We're there for you, everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Let us help you bank with the right bank. At First National Bank, we're more than just a bank. We're a digital partner that actually understands your business. Enjoy massive value with our various banking solutions. Get a business check account, a day-to-day transactional account for all businesses from all sectors of the economy. Access our online banking enterprise and bank your way 24/7. Invest with our short or long-term options that enable immediate access to funds. Optimize your cash flow, raise capital, and acquire assets with ease with our lending solutions. Trade with speed, consistency, and innovation with our global payments and forex solutions. With so much value up for grabs, there is no reason not to bank with First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?
Honey, I need to get some.
But I don't have cash on me. Let me get some fuel quickly and let's go.
And how are you going to get the fuel? I thought you said you didn't have cash on you. What is this one?
My Puma card.
All it takes is a card. The Puma card allows you to buy fuel cash-free from all Puma energy filling stations. You can use your Puma card with any Visa points of sale and ATM across the country. The Puma card also works on mobile money. You get amazing discounts when you fill up with your Puma card. So register for free and get your Puma card instantly at any Puma filling station.
And you only got one for yourself, eh?
Yeah, would I have had my piece of mind?
Oh, thank you, honey.
And where are you going?
I'm getting something from the shop real quick. I need to test the card.
Puma card. Cash-free convenience.
Hi, my name is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy. It's that time again for us to show love to our underprivileged brothers and sisters on the streets. Your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM, presents the annual Joy Easter Soup Kitchen. This year, we warmly invite you to join us feed, counsel, entertain, and provide medical aid to the less privileged in our society. We invite you to donate charitably towards the Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen. You can do this in cash or in kind at the front desk of Joy FM Kokomlele. There's so much we can give. Bags of rice, bottles of cooking oil, soft drinks, cartons of chicken and fish, flour, pharmaceutical products, and many others. Call us on 0302-216-540 or 0244-663-968. The Easter Soup Kitchen is powered by your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM, and supported by you, our loyal listeners.
Joy 99.7 FM.
And welcome back to Business on Newsnight with me, Charles Aite. Here are the details. Freight forwarders and other businesses that use the port are calling on the Office of the Vice President to come up with a governance structure to serve as the mediator between regulators and stakeholders at the port. According to them, this is part of the trade facilitation agreement which Ghana is a signatory of. In an exclusive interview with Joy Business, President of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Kwabena Ofosu-Appiah, noted that having the governance structure will eliminate most of the state agencies at the port, which will improve time of clearing goods.
There's a semblance to the governance structure that we are asking for, so that a ministry will not elect because it has its agency within the port. And don't forget that the issue of the internally generated funds also came to play, because if all these ministries have their appendages in the port, they all have some internally generated funds coming through the port. They will not be so much excited about the fact that going forward, their charges are not going to be ad valorem based on the cost of the item they are working on. Their charges is going to be coterminous to the services that they are providing. And that's what the WTO agreement, the trade facilitation agreement, is also asking for.
Kwabena Ofosu-Appiah is president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. The IMF is asking governments to come up with policies that would help improve revenue from non-oil sectors. This follows the latest IMF World Economic Outlook report, which projected a slowdown in global economic growth for the oil and gas sector. Speaking to Joy Business in Washington, D.C., Division Chief at the Research Department of the IMF, Oya Carlson, said this would ensure that Ghana is protected against any slump in commodity prices.
So the overriding goal in many of these oil producers is to adjust fiscal policy to lower oil prices. That process has started, but it's not complete yet. And again, the priorities vary a lot from country to country, but a cross-cutting, overriding, very common need is still to raise the part of revenue that doesn't come from oil, so mobilizing more revenues. Again, in terms of trade is a driving factor. It could be oil, it could be other commodities, but to the extent that the budget balance is reliant on commodity revenues, and to the extent that that country's particular commodity export revenues have fallen, there is a need to adjust fiscal policy.
Division Chief at the IMF in charge of research speaking with Joy Business at the IMF Spring Meetings in Washington, D.C. Insurance company Enterprise Group has revealed plans to soon create an online platform to help boost the local insurance penetration in Ghana. The platform, which will be launched in the second quarter of this year, is aimed at meeting the increasing demand for insurance by public and creating a one-stop shop for all the services under the Enterprise Group. Kelly Gajekbo is Chief Executive of the group.
In other words, we are creating what we call digital touch points, where when you come to that touch point, you can deal and talk about anything to do with enterprise. So the market is a physical manifestation, comfortable, Our employees are trained, the staff are all trained. Once you come in there, nobody's going to say, oh, sorry, we don't work with pensions over here, so go across the street or go to this next guy. We are actually in the process of launching the first pilot. By July, we'll start our pilot.
Chief Executive of Enterprise Group, Kelly Gajekbo. Now, Chief Executive of the Business and Financial Times, Dr. Edith Dankwa, has called on government to incentivize businesses that create the enabling environment for women in business. This comes on the back of calls for business leaders to set up policies to allow women rise in the corporate environment to foster gender parity. Speaking to Joy Business, she explained that incentives such as tax exemptions will serve as a base to attract more to do so.
We should be able to create some kind of incentives on a larger scale. So if I know that if I have a balanced, gender parity at a particular level, and I'll have even 1% tax cut, I will do it. Which means that there's an effort to get me to motivate an employer or an employer to get their female counterparts or female staff or managers to get up there, to get to a particular level. But it helps, diversity helps. So although it shouldn't be coercion, it helps to have women there.
And that was the head of the Business and Financial Times, Ending Business on Newsnight with me, Charles Aite.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Thanks very much, Charles, for the latest from the world of business. Let's take some of your messages quickly that you've sent in. This one from Seb Prempe in Legon says the GES Ministry of Education's new curriculum is very laudable, especially incorporating history and French at basic level of education.
Well, Kofi Kumasi says, well spoken, Ms. IKJC, government should address the teaching and learning materials and the learning environment, not uniforms. As Sam in UK says, let's ask the minister about the supplies of these materials, and you won't be far from guessing that it will be a family and friends connection once again. How will this change the falling standards of education? Kofi Siri says all these talks about curriculum review will amount to nothing if the welfare of teachers who are supposed to be implementers of this curriculum is not taken care of. Ginny says from the AG's own vigilantism and Related Offences Bill 2019, there are officially 7 political party vigilante groups with as many as 5 belonging to the MPP. God will always expose who the nation wreckers are. God bless Ghana, he says.
You're still listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's quickly get into the world of sports. And Gary L. Smith is not here with commentary, fortunately, but he has the latest today from the world of sports.
Yes, indeed. And the African Cup of Nations kicks off in a couple of months on the 21st of June. Tomorrow will be the draw in Egypt. By this time, we'll be getting ready for the official ceremony. However, today, the Confederation of African Football have let us know the important matter of the pots. And of course, the pots let each country know if they are seeded or not. Is the Black Stars seeded? No. So what we have found out is that the host nation, Egypt, the holders of the trophy, Cameroon, Nigeria, Tunisia, Senegal, and Morocco are the countries that have been seeded. So they will be in what is called Pot 1. The Black Stars and Kwesi Appiah find themselves in Pot 2 and will be drawn against one of the top seeds when the groups are decided. The pot and seedings of the 24 qualified teams were decided based on the latest FIFA World Rankings. And this is a departure from the established practice by CAF themselves when they used to employ the former African Nations Cup, placings of the countries in the draw. We don't know why, they've not told us why, but that is what they did. So tomorrow it will be just outside Cairo in the very, very picturesque and historic place called Giza. That is where the draw will be.
See you in the AFCON 2019 draw at the Pyramids. James Appiah, coach of Ghana.
That's Kwesi Appiah all coming us to the draw tomorrow. We'll be covering it. You can get more at the locker room with George Ado Jr. But Benedict Dankwa is in Egypt. He'll bring us more tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Gary Al Smith.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has presented to Parliament a list of the total number of employees at the presidency. The release of the list is in compliance of course, the Section 11 of the Presidential Office Act, which requires the president to submit annually to Parliament a report on the staffing position of the office of the president. The minority is, however, not happy. The president failed to meet the 3 months deadline at the start of the year for presentation. Now, minority spokesperson on foreign affairs, Samuel Kudito-Ablakwa, says the development is unlawful.
The president must lead by example so that when a law is explicit, it's clear, it's unambiguous, it says within 3 months. So you had between January and March to submit this report. And look at the constant reminders. You have been in this house every week, especially as we entered March and as March was coming to a close. We kept reminding the president. Now the president submits this just a day for us to rise. We now have to wait for copies and to remember that this report has to be scrutinized, has to be debated. Very little time left, but well, I just hope that it was not all part of the strategy. But
why do you think they are doing that? Why do you think they delayed with it and they brought it this late? To hide something? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's difficult to really know why the president will be breaching the law. But it is not good for our country, the image of our country, the image of the president. He is a lawyer of repute, many years standing at the bar. He must be the fountain of honor. You know, all public servants should know that they will not get away when they violate our laws. The best way to know that is to see your superiors, all of us, our boss, the president himself, the commander-in-chief, leading by example. So I think that the conduct of the president is not glorious. The president has not covered himself in glory by the way he's conducted himself, especially after all the reminders, after all the statements that we put out.
Well, parliamentary correspondent Opoku Gakpo is in the studio with me. How many employees are the presidency?
957. 957.
Let's break it down.
So there are 292 junior political appointees, and that includes presidential staffers, 28 of them, ministers of state at the presidency, 10 of them, as well as other junior appointees. That's 254. You recall that last year the figure totally was 998. Now it's 957. With the number of presidential staffers, for example, we're seeing 292. Then it was around 256.
That is the total political appointees.
Yes.
And then you also have the administrative secretarial staff, which comes down to
397 of them. 397. So chief directors, there are 2 of them. There are 17 supply and materials management class people there. There are 5 people there in charge of information technology class. That is what they call the programmer class, as well as executive clerical clerks, about 17.
And then I also see the other staff and attachment there that comes to 268.
268 from the Department of Parks and Gardens, the Ghana Health Service, the Control and Contingent Department, as well as those in charge of Telecom, Fire Service, Public Works Department, the Postal Service, and a number of other agencies.
So if you look at the disaggregation, the total number of civil and public sector employees at the presidency is 665. However, if you add the other staff on attachment to it, those from, say, Parks and Gardens, Ghana Health Service, and that brings you to the 957 that you talked about.
Yes,
There's
so,
so
665 when it comes to the total number of civil and public servants, and then 292 political appointees, coming up to the 957.
And if you look at the list of the individuals that some very well known, particularly who come under the junior political appointees, you get some people who we know to be serial callers, serial texters. Nana Hesse Ojiri. We've seen Bonti Benjamin, because we know them because they've been sending us a lot of messages on our various WhatsApp consoles. Are there our own former colleague of ours,
Jefferson Saki, he's a technical advisor there, as well as Gideon Bako, who is the vice president technical advisor. His name is on
the list. And Kweku Sichado, is a communications consultant.
Precisely.
Precisely.
Apart from another portfolio for a public relations person, also at the presidency.
Yeah.
As captured in this document.
Yes. So that's in essence the list that we have.
Samuel Brian Boabing, his name is also on that list as an assistant technical advisor.
We know him because he's also a very active
on social media, in particular.
Social media and call as well.
The interesting thing about this is that it was actually sent to the House by the Vice President on behalf of the President himself today.
Thank you very much, Gapo.
Now, let's talk about the Comenda Sugar Factory quickly before we wrap up, because former Trades Minister Kospio Gabra is raising questions over the sector ministry's plans to sell off the Comenda Sugar Factory at a depreciated value of $12 million. The sugar factory was constructed with an Indian Exim Bank loan of $35 million in 2016, but 3 years after its commissioning. A valuation report by the ministry says the value of plants has depreciated by $22 million. We can hear from the MP of the area, Samuel Tamils, who is unhappy with the recommendations of the Technical Audit Committee.
It is sad that when one government starts a project and the next one comes, they just abandon it. And right now, just because that this thing is closer to the ocean, some of the parts are getting rusted. Mr. President, care for your people. Get this Comenda Sugar Factory opened.
The minister said that a strategic investor is being sought to acquire the assets of the factory and manage its operations, and that this is based on the transaction advisor's recommendation, that's PricewaterhouseCoopers. For you, is this the way forward? A strategic investor to come acquire the assets of the Comenda Sugar Factory?
That's not the way forward. That is not the way forward.
So you heard that the MP for KEA, but we can hear from the former Trades Minister Kospio Gabra, who is accusing government of deliberately allowing the factory to devalue it.
If any government official or officer allow a government asset consciously depreciate by whatever percentage, then it's a financial loss. I mean, that's automatic financial loss to the state, and there are laws governing that aspect as well. The point is that the government of Ghana, representing the people of Ghana, with the blessing of Parliament, took a $35 million loan from the government of India, and the Indians appointed a contractor and consultant to come and execute that project using their own money. So if the project as executed was not worth the $35 million that the Indian government gave us, then the first line of concern should be the government of Ghana taking it up with the Indian government that, hey, ladies
and that's Dr. Kospio Gabra, former Trades Minister. And that's it for Newsnight tonight. Just before we leave, this analysis about the cedi depreciation has been going on for a while, but also the fundamentals of the economy. Last week we had a very fascinating account of there's a song that was done, right, about about the cedi's depreciation and all. DKB comedian also has his own take on this. We'll leave you with that. My name is Evans Mensah.
I am MF Apo, and stay tuned in because Alex Mode is our personality on Personality Profile.
Dr. Babalit, your team fire the inside. The fundamentals will be weak and the cedi will expose you.